that's when I first was interested in meeting Mo Armstrong and finding out about the program to support the veterans, which I feel is truly needed. So Mo, why don't you tell us about what brought you to
Vet to Vet?
Vet to Vet.
Well, I'm a veteran who ended up being psychiatrically disabled from the Vietnam War. I'd been a medical corpsman, so I had to do, while I was in combat, a variety of different treatments for people that had wounds, mainly shrapnel wounds, legs and something like that. But I'd never done mental illness. I didn't know what that was. And my sergeant became mentally ill before me, and I thought, well, this is really disgusting. This guy, this weak-minded guy, became mentally ill, right? And then a year later, or 6 months later, actually, I became mentally ill myself. It threw me for a loop. I had all this anxiety, all this depression. I was totally disoriented. I went from being completely focused to completely disoriented. And next thing you know, I mean, I was kicked out of the service. Actually, I was discharged here into Oakland, California. I was at the Oakland Navy Hospital in that would have been 1966. And I got discharged. Yeah, well, in those days, you were either just in the hospital or you were in the street. So there was no aftercare. So for about 20 years, I floundered around, you know, and of course, you know, being on the streets meant that I ended up being an addict and drunk and mentally ill and strung out and everything under the sun. And so 1984, I got accepted by the Veterans Administration to go to college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I went to college. I ended up with 2 master's degrees. But I decided what I really wanted to do was to help other people. Veterans and other people have these psychiatric conditions and had drug and alcohol situations in our lives that we were struggling with, to help us get free from that stuff and then plug forward. Also, I realized that the mental health services, the systems that we have, these services, they're an opportunity. They're not a sentence. See, before I thought for these 20 years, man, I'm mentally ill, this is the end of my life, you know, exactly. I'm not going anywhere, you know, I'm completely messed up in my head, I can't hold a job, I'm fighting with everybody, you know, I can't get along. And then one day I realized that I was now part of a system and I could get services, and when that happened, I ended up with these 2 master's degrees. My parents are both retired janitors, so we had no money in our family. You know, there was no money from home, no money helping me, nothing. It was just me and the VA, and this thing had to work. So when that happened, I realized I got these degrees, and I got, you know, into the system trying to help other people. And at first, it was with the state systems. It was first with the state of New Mexico, some 20 years ago, and then the state of Massachusetts. And then 7 years ago now, I realized that veterans, you know, were, you know, my main love, and I got asked by the VA, because I am a veteran, I got asked by the VA to come in and help with the Veterans Administration to set up these peer support meetings. And from there, we just built 50 sites across America, all researched by Yale University, all shown to be that the peer support that we give, which is educational in nature. You know, we have materials, people read, they study, they pass information on to each other from the materials they read and study, that those types of ongoing educational support groups are effective. And that's what you've been doing really in Indiana, these ongoing educational peer support meetings.
Well, Dr. Harmon from he's the director of mental health and over the PTSD program at the VA in Indianapolis, and he has helped me immensely with my PTSD. I'm 100% PTSD, and so and because of that, I recognize the need to help other veterans, and it's really, I think, therapeutic and holistic. You know, when you have the meetings and we sit there and we talk, and we feel at ease. You know what I'm saying? Well, like you really never felt before, and I really. From being from the Bay Area and growing up, that's no coincidence. I was born in Berkeley and raised in Oakland, and in '66 I was just still in a junior high school. But it's brought us here to where we are right now, and our heart is right, and I really want to support, you know, Vet to Vet in the Bay Area where I'm from, and there's a lot of veterans here. Like you said, it's I believe more vets in California.
I think you're in a really good spot. I think, you know, the secret of this is, though, that you can learn so much from one person. With vet to vet, you have to learn from a lot of different people.
True.
You know, you have to network.
Exactly.
You know, so you learn something from me, you learn something from the guys in Vermont, you learn something from the guys in LA. You teach something back.
Exactly.
I mean, you're somebody who's, you know, had your ear to the ground. You just haven't been out there like looking at the sky or anything.
Right.
So you pass on information that you learn. And it's kind of a mutual networking, growth, learning thing that we try to do with vet to vet. We have this monthly conference calls. It's an each one, reach one, teach one model all the way through.
Exactly.
Each one, reach one, teach one. Gladly teach, gladly learn. Because we also got to be continuously learning.
True.
What we know about mental health today, what we know about the mental health system is completely different from what we thought. Like I said,
Yes.
I thought it was a sentence. I thought mental health was the end of my life. When I was in the mental health system, I thought I was like going to jail.
I thought the same thing.
You know, I didn't realize that, man, I get an education, I get a job, I could, you know, do things, you know,
right.
within the mental health system. And once I realized that, I realized the mental health system also is really a multi-billion-dollar business. I mean, the mental health system's huge. You know, I mean, you know, it's not petroleum, it's not General Motors, but you know, it's an industry which employs people and has people doing things. It has not done a good job of hiring, training, and recruiting people who have received the services to go back and work in that system. That's what has failed miserably at that. But I'm hoping over the next 10 years that gets turned around. I mean,
I do too.
I would see mental health 100 years ago in blind services, for instance. People who were blind and people who were deaf, 100 years ago, they did not work in their service system. They had no people who were blind or no people who were deaf working in their system. Now you couldn't imagine that. If you were to go into blind services, almost everybody who works in blind services is blind. Almost everybody who works in deaf services, they are working there, they're deaf. And that you'll probably see something along the same lines over the next 20, 30 years.
Hopefully it evolves into something better.
You and me, we're just the first.
Right.
Eventually, man, there's going to be tons of us, you know. And so our job is to go out and find the ones that want to do this job and build this kind of system as kind of an ancillary system of care where we're supporting the overall mental health system. We aren't the alternative.
No.
We're just supporting it and trying to get things done to make the mental health system work better. Volunteers for America is a good organization. I work with them in Connecticut. So I go down and do my volunteer work from the Martin Luther King birthday before the Obama inauguration. I was working with Volunteers for America. So, you know, I go down and a couple of times every 6 months I'm down working in Bridgeport and Southern Tier, and I've also gotten churches interested. It's strange because when you bring the veteran card in, I found out that I would say 2 ministers of the 3 churches that I was working with were veterans.
Exactly.
But they didn't talk about it, right? So all of a sudden this fit into their ministry. So I mean, this is a great opportunity, I think, for you, for me, for this Volunteers for America.
Right.
Is a solid organization.
Well, I want to work with all of them, but I want to have to call this, bring this to a close.
Sorry,
but I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this is one of the first of many vet-to-vet events we're going to have here. And
well, I'm happy
we
for
want
you.
to work with you.
It's
and,
a beautiful site.
Thank you very much.
And you're very industrious.
Thank you.
And you got a nice guy you're working with, this Damon guy. He's a nice guy.
Well, Damon, why don't you come here for a second? He's another veteran, and he is truly a hero.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you again.